Hello again, you join me in my garage on a sunny Saturday, and I'm just in the middle of sorting out some crap. Basically, I've got some new racking on the van, which I'll show you in a second, but this is more or less what my van, it's just been, if you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen that this has just been getting progressively worse, and more crap's getting in it, and I need to just take a moment, sit down and sort all of this crap out. Now, it doesn't help that my van has been emptied into here as well. A lot of this is like rubbish that needs to get rid of, materials, scrap cable, all sorts of crap. However, while I was tidying up, I thought it'd be a good opportunity to go through some of the old crap I've got in here and MCBs and the differences and where to find the information on them. So I'm going to do that, and I'm also going to show you the van racking. So let me show you that first. You may or may not have seen this from my Instagram. Googly eyes are a standard, but I got my van racked out by Yoke Vans. So I've got this nice drawer, which I'm in the middle of sorting out in a minute. Look at the state of it. This has got all my power tools locked away nicely, but what I've got is this new rack in here. So I've just had this installed, and the idea is that I'm going to have the Euro crates in here, and they're going to be interchangeable depending on the work I'm doing. And then these are going to have all of my screw trays and assortment of bits. So I'm mid sorting it out. The other good feature about this, I mean, it's basically any van is dead space. So anywhere below the, as soon as you put stuff on the floor, the stuff above is dead space, isn't it? So if you raise the floor, you have more usable space. So all of this is usable because it pulls out that way. I've also got a few hidey holes here, cable. There's another little hole here which is full of, looks like a mess to be fair, but the whole point is to try and make myself more organised, and yeah, the more organised I am, the more efficient I can be, the more money I can make. Also, it's a very small van, so I'm very limited on space, and I probably should have went for a bigger van when I started, but money's too tight to mention. So if anyone that's planning on starting out, you can get by on a small van. You just got to be very neat and tidy. Now, these two words do not really go in my vocabulary, so yeah, it's a bit of a culture shock for me, and it's always a bit of a tip, so I'm hoping this is going to make it better. Anyway, hence the mess. But let's go through some of the crap that I got in my garage. So what you can see in front of me is a selection of random MCBs, RCDs, RCBOs and the like. So what I'm going to be doing is just giving a close-up and where to find the information on them. So this is the C50 we were talking about in the other video. So we can see the braking capacity here. There's a little sticker here saying 3871. It's very scratched, however. It's 415 at 3-phase and category M3. So on the older MCBs, the braking capacity was at M number, so M1, M1.5, M3, M4.5, M5, M6, M9. I'm probably missing some here, but you get the idea. Whereas on the modern ones, it will say 6K, or it might say 6,000, 10,000, that kind of thing. So that's where you will find the information. Now, that sticker can easily come off. On the other side, we've got some more information here. So, ooh, can we see it? Let me try and hold that the right way. So Crabtree C50 Type 50. Oh, sorry, Type C50, made in England. So I think, now people in the comments, you'll have to correct me here. I believe if it was white, it was a certain KA, and if it was yellow, it was another KA. I might be wrong there, but let us know in the comments. Obviously, these are the ones that are quite exposed with their little nubs of exposed mess, but the date of these, they stopped making these in 1989. If I show you another one quickly. So this is another 3871. It's a lot more modern, isn't it? But you notice the flathead on it again, which ages it quite a bit. I mean, it's super safe apparently. But on the side we've got the same 3871, and this is the M, and here's our type. So you've got type 1, 2, 3 and 4 on a 3871. So, and that will give you the tripping characteristics. That's the equivalent of our modern MCBs. So we've got B, C's and D's. That's the equivalent on 3871s. So they're the sort of things you're going to be looking out for. But you can see from the front of this there's not really many telltale signs. There's no letters or anything like that, just MCB40. But the information's on the side. You imagine if this is in a fuse board sandwiched either side, it's hard to get the information on it. So you may have to take an MCB out of the fuse board just to get to the information. And it was made in France apparently. Let's have a look at some other stuff. You may recognize this from a previous video where I was working on that old Federal Electric board. So this is a close-up of one of those. So here's the blade lock-in system. Again, this is a 3871 breaker. Let's see if we can get some information on it. Oh, it's a stab lock. So that's the patented mark. That's their lock-in system, stab lock. I mean, it's a cool name, I suppose. Informal spelling, which I love. I love an informal spelling. Sorry if my hands are a bit shaky for you to read this. Let's see what's on the other side. Nothing. So we got the breaker there, and then we got a little sticker here. So it says type NA. So that's a bit of a, I'm not sure what that one means, but we'll ignore that for now. But see, I was saying about the M, look, M5. That's quite a rare beast. I don't really come across an M5. This is a type 4, so this is a slow sort of blow. It was equivalent to kind of a D type breaker, and then there's our 3871 there. The numbers are also another telltale sign, because if it's like odds like this, 15, 5s and 30s, again, it's more than likely to be a 3871. But that's a stab lock. Then we've got a, where is that breaker gone? This is a square D. This is a modern breaker, but let's try and keep that still. So you see it's got 6,000, so that's the KA rating of it. Absolute bugger all on this side, absolute bugger all on this side. So most of the information's on the front, but you see here we've got this, I wonder what this is called, this lock-in system. But like I was saying, these are lock-in systems. Obviously you don't have to screw it in, so you don't have to worry about any torque settings, but put them side by side. It's quite a difference in design. I can't find a Crabtree one to show you that, which is really annoying. But that's another one of those stabbing systems. Right, we move on now. We're on to our plug-in type MCBs. So these are the Wylex ones. Now these plug in to replace the fuse. So the fuse is the old fuse wire. It was obviously an inconvenience and you had to wire them up. I'll do a separate video on an old Wylex fuse box with rewirable fuses. If you look on the side of these, it's a 60898 type B. So standard really, but it's a 3 Ka, so they're a lower Ka rating, these plug-in ones. Other thing to notice on these is that some of them, so even though this has B20 on it, see it's a 3871 type 2, so it's the equivalent of, but it's just something to bear in mind. Just because you see the B on it, some of these weren't, they were 3871s, so always unplug them and have a look. They were color coded, which I thought was quite cool, of Wylex. So you've got white, red, blue was 16 amp, 20 amp, I think. I'm trying to think, what was it, green? Was green 40 amp? You know, I can't remember. And these ones here are cartridge fuses, 1361. I'll pull one of these out in a sec, but it's the same oh my lord, it's felt really old. It's the same principle as fuse wire, but you've got cartridge fuses in there, so you've actually got a better rupture current on one of these. Another cool thing about these is they fall over really easily when you try and do. Wait a sec. You notice anything about those? See the pin size holes? Now this is quite a clever design. So I've got a 32 here, but it won't fit. So you can't misfuse. It will fit there. So you can't go bigger. Obviously the blade size, it's not going to do any damage if you put a smaller one in, but it means that you can't misfuse and inadvertently plug in the wrong size. Because you imagine if you plug the 32 in onto a lighting circuit, it'd be quite disastrous, wouldn't it? But I'll open up one of these fuse carriers to show you. Okay, I appreciate this is a bit nerdy what I'm going through here, but stay with me. It is interesting. That's a strong word. It's information that will be useful for you learners as you're coming through the ranks. So when you come across these things, you're like, oh, I know exactly where to look for the BS number and that kind of thing. So if you've not come across it, it might be useful to you. Anyway, here is the cartridge fuses in size. Let's see if my camera will focus, and it has. And it's focusing on my fingers. So there's the 20 amp, 1361, 240 rating, and that's about it. The other thing with these is that, as any electrician can testify, you'll come to a fault with one of these blown and you will not have one on the van. So customers have the same thing, but what they've done is they put a bit of fag paper behind them, a paper clip, anything to bypass it and plug it back in. So always look for a bypass on these fuses, especially on an EICR. Make sure you open up all of these fuses, because honest to God, you will come across them one day where you can't unplug the damn fuse where they put a little link either across here in the front or it's hidden inside, and yeah, you'll just pass it and say it's fine when it's really not. I'll open up this one for you to have a look at too. So here's our 5 amps. You can see it's considerably smaller. You don't notice anything else about it? It's a plug top fuse, so it's actually slightly different. So a 5 amp, but it's a 1362, this one. So yeah, just bear that in mind. Make sure you open them all up and just look for the little bypass going past them. But yeah, so to recap, different size fuses, look for bypasses, look for scorch marks and whatever else. Remember that these can't be, well, it's not exactly the most interesting fact, but you can't misfuse them because of the different size blades. And to always look out for the bit on the side, because it could be a 3871, and the KA rating usually is always 3 KA. So there's another 3 KA, and that's the 38711, and we can't actually see, oh look, there it is, see it just there, M3. Riveting stuff, I know, right? Right, let's cover something that you're more likely to come across. This is a Wylex 60898 MCB. So we've got B32, and we've got all of the information on the side here. So there's our 6 KA rating, made in Europe. One thing to point out with these, there was it's not these ones. I'll try and find one in the pile in a second, and I'll talk you through it. But there was a faulty batch of these. We've got B, C's, and D's. So there's a B. It's not the same breaker, but there's a C and there's a D. So they're different tripping curves. So that changes the maximum ZS value of it. So this one will be something like a motor. So it can take 20 times its rated current on an inrush, 10 times its rated current on an inrush, and 5 times its rated current on an inrush. Usually these B types are found in domestic. These two are more in the commercial industrial. You've got a big old motor and it's got a huge like startup current. This can take 20 times its rated current, so 20 times 50 on inrush current. And yeah, and this one's 10 times, so 10 times 16, and this is 5 times. So otherwise, you imagine every time the motor starts up, this would just keep banging out and banging out. So that's why these slower curves are used. So this is the Wylex batch that was at fault. So there was a period in, I think it was 2009, 2010, don't quote me on it, but this NSB 06 10s and 16s had a recall on them. They were exploding spectacularly, but there was a unique code you had to look for on this bit. Now I don't know the code off by heart. If I find it, I might put it on screen now, but if you do come across some of the Wylex NSBs, you need to have a little look and see if it's one of the ones that were recalled, because if it is, they need to be taken out of service immediately. So it's another thing just to point out when you come across some of these Wylex MCBs. Just when you thought this video couldn't get more exciting, it's RCD time, people, come on. Right. So here's a selection of RCDs. These are the older styles. So see here, BS4293, and this is a 4293 time delayed one. So we'll talk about this one first. This Wylex one is an absolute legend, okay? This is the fastest RCD in the West. When you come across these and you do a 5 times test, it will be 5 point something, 6 point something. They are so quick. Really, really, like, the mechanism and the spring on that bad boy. Honestly, these were built to last. I've not come across many that are 40. Oh, sugar. So that's it's just an 80 amp, 50 hertz, 240, 4293, as I said. Not much more information on it really, except for saying it's double pole. That's actually quite important. So double pole and single pole we'll talk about on RCBOs, because most RCDs are double pole. But yeah, these are, the other interesting thing about these is the tripping time. So you know, on an RCD the maximum trip-in time is 300 milliseconds. On these it's not, it's 200 milliseconds, and I believe that I think they might have been taken out of the res or being phased out of the regs, so that's, they're not in it. So does it mean that you should just fail it automatically if they're still in use? Obviously I don't think so, but these are really quick, and yeah, it's just worth noting that the maximum tripping time is different for a 4293 MCB. No, RCD. Get there in the end. Here's the time delay one. In fact, let me start another clip because I'm probably going to muck it up. Okay, so this one's a time delayed one. You can see some differences between them aesthetically as well. Also, I forgot to point out, this is 30 milliamp, this is 100 milliamp. So 30 milliamps additional protection. This one might have been used for a like a TT system where 100 milliamp. 300 milliamp, 500 milliamp, they're normally used for like fire protection on bigger installations and that kind of thing. But you see the differences. This one's got a little window, so it's got green when it's off and red when on. That can be confusing because there's certain manufacturers it's the opposite way round, but green means go, means it's safe, red means it's double dangerous. Same thing happens with this one here. See the red when it's on, and this one here, red when on. But a time delayed one is where you want to have some selectivity between your devices. You might have this on the TT system up front, where you've got other RCDs up the line, so that they don't trip off at the same time. You've got some selectivity. So if you did have an issue, this one should operate first, leaving the rest of the power on in the installation. But yeah, again, the information's on the front. We've got our 4293, our rating of the device, which is 100 amp, 100 milliamp, which is the trip current, and then the time delay down here. Nothing on the sides, and it's double pole again. But with 4293s, I think are really good. The Wylex ones anyway, they trip out incredibly quickly. Right, let's talk about some more modern ones. Okay, so here's a couple of more modern ones. So these are 61009s. The information on it, you can see our little symbol here. So this is an AC, but this is a type A. And this is quite an old one, so there were certain manufacturers that were still churning out decent RCDs. So that's an old MEM one. We've got our rated current 63, then we've got our rated RCD, so we've got 30 milliamp there. Oh, can we see here? We've got the little window, we've got the double pole symbol to show it's switching off both conductors. On this one, there's our symbol there, 30 milliamp, 80 amp rated current. Is there any other information really on it? Not really. It's showing that it's switching both of the conductors, and then we've got our information there. Oh no, look, it's got both BS numbers on it, but this is a 61008. I wonder why it's got both written on it. Anyway, you can see the difference in them. This one's got a reference lead, so that's a reference earth. So when you're carrying out installation resistance, you need to remove this. This has also got covers on the terminals, which makes it a little bit safer. But that's the sort of information you can get off of them. They're normally all on the front. You don't have to take an RCD out of the board. But there's no in and out written on these, so I can only assume. Oh no, see, there we go. Load, and that's in line. So when we're talking about solar stuff, there's been a whole hoo-ha in the regs at the moment, hasn't there? Because bi-directional RCDs and RCBOs, because they won't flow both ways. But you can see this one doesn't flow both ways. I don't believe this one does either, but I can't actually see if it's got load written on it. Let's have a look at some RCBOs. So we remember that RCBOs are a combination of both devices, an MCB and an RCD. We look at our first one here, we've got a C20, so that's the type of MCB it is. We've got our braking capacity, which is 10 kA, and it's an AC RCD at 30 milliamps. So all the information is there for us to see at the front. Same again here, this is a type A. See the symbol? We've got the, try and point to it without blurring the camera, and it's a C40 30 milliamp. And then we've got a very modern fuse box one, which is a type A 30 milliamp B32. And then we've got our little test buttons here. These two have reference fly leads, whereas this one doesn't. So if you're doing installation resistance testing, you've got to make sure disconnect the line of neutral before carrying out because you can damage the device. I've never seen it actually be damaged, but it will muck up your readings. If we look on the side here, so see, this is a single pole, so the neutral does not break. So if you were feeding a car charger or something like that, you need it to be double pole, depending on what the load you're feeding. But you see, that's our symbol we're looking out for. Whereas this one, flip it the correct way, you can see there's 2 breaks. So this is a double pole device. So this is suitable for feeding a load like an EV charger or something where you need double pole disconnection. This one here, just flip that around the right way, is, see, there's no switch in there. We've got a switch there, and that passes straight through. So it's just something to bear in mind, because it will ask you on some test forms whether they're single or double pole. And that's some boring information about RCBOs. Right, there's probably loads of information I've missed there. It's just a spur in the moment thing, because I was moving crap and a box collapsed and fell apart, and I thought, oh, do you know what, I'm going to bore the people about some RCBOs, MCBs and what have you. So hopefully you got a bit of information out of it. Hopefully you can see now where to find the information and how important the differences are, and bits about RCDs and whatever else I spoke about. Do you know what, I don't even know what I said, in all honesty. So cheers guys, catch you in the next one.